Comedy Jonas, not here. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first postseason interview with someone that I am so excited to get to chat with. I know you guys are so excited to ask your questions too. We have so much to get to, but first, let me just remind all of you that wherever you guys are watching, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. It's the best way to help support our shows. Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, the TikToks, all of those places Reality Recaps is. You guys interacting with the show, interacting with the shows and the content there is a great way to help support them. And hey, it's what always keeps them free for the past 10 years. So do it. Of course, you can always share the show now. Share it. Let everybody know that we're live. Share it later. In the future, put it in your favorite Facebook groups. 5-star rating, nice reviews, thumbs up, and bells on YouTube. All that good stuff. You guys know what to do. Of course, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the chats wherever you are watching. Tweet us them with hashtag YRRLive. That being said, it is my honor to introduce the woman of the hour, the one, the only, it's Britini!
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. My dog is, I don't know what is outside. And I was like, I know my mic is on. Toby!
It's on, but
hey. Hey,
guess what? Brittany, unlike the live feeds of Big Brother, I have noise canceling, so we don't hear your dog barking.
Yes! Oh my goodness. No, how are you, Eric? It's so good to finally talk to you.
I am so excited to talk to you too. I love all things Brittany.
Oh, thank you. It means the absolute world. I've been watching your show for so many years, obviously, and I know we talked about this too. I've been such a big fan of you and John, and now that I'm like on the show, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm honored. This is so crazy for me to be on. I even broke out the sparkly blazer just for you guys. I have not worn this yet in an interview. You are the first interview that I broke out the sparkly blazer for. So.
Do you know that I saw a sparkly blazer just like that? I think it was in like a Macy's or somewhere, and I tried to put it on. I didn't really fit into it. I was like crushing into it, and I shit you not, the Macy's employee walked by me and went like this, no, and kept walking.
No!
And I went,
my God.
all right. Guess we're not gonna get. And that is and I'm told that a black one just like that. I wanted it so bad.
Oh my gosh. No, actually, my mother surprised me with this one for Christmas last year.
I love it. It is so sparkly.
Yeah.
And of course, John is so sad that he cannot be here. I mean, most people know that John is a real estate man around the city, and it's a buyer's market or a seller's market anyway. He has showings this whole week, which has really messed up his schedule. But he says to send you his love.
Oh, John, I'm sending you my love. Of course. You are.
Speaking of love, you guys can leave loves in all of the chats. I am going to try, and I'm going to keep up with all of the chats this show. I'm very proud of myself. I'm so doing this now.
You've got this, Eric. I believe in you.
I got it. So
you got it.
Before we get into your questions, I have to say, just from, I know, the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the hearts of a lot of people that watch our shows, you know, we have a lot of fans and friends and followers that have disabilities or that are struggling with disabilities of some sort. And I think your story is one that is so inspirational this season of Big Brother. And I think all the spotlight, not all the spotlight, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it should be acknowledged and loved and embraced as well. I think it is an important story, just as amazing and triumphant as the Cookout story is from this season. I think there's a lot of these stories that have come out of this season with firsts for, marginalized people. And I just think it's so great that you got to go in there and play and be yourself. So first, what do you want to say to fans about it? We got to see you do it a little bit on finale, and then Julie yelled
Yeah.
at you to sit down because you weren't in the light, and I've never laughed so hard in my life. You're like, first I want to talk about autism. And Julie's like, you're not in the light, Brittany. Just sit down with your autism if you're not in the light, Brittany. I was like, what are you doing, Julie? But no, first, what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, honestly, the response to my finale speech has been overwhelming. It has been,
Mhm.
but in the absolute best way possible. My DMs have been flooded with so many people who have found inspiration through my story. And it's funny because as someone who lives with autism, I mean, I was diagnosed at 22 months. I was nonverbal. I had no eye contact and no social cues, which is just when you think about it, it's just crazy to think that that was where I started and now I'm here. You know what I mean? But I really wanted to apply for this show because I'd never seen someone like me on Big Brother before in all capacities of the show. And so when I was going through the casting process, Big Brother could not have been more supportive of me sharing my story. And honestly, one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most from being outside of the house is now I get to share with everybody my journey. Now I get to not
Yes.
just say that, hey, I've had autism for 22 years, but now I get to tell you guys every part of my autism journey and every part of what I've gone through for the past 22 years since being diagnosed. But I just truly want to say to the fans, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for accepting me because when you have a disability, I mean, I've never shared it publicly. When you have a disability, it is so hard to know what the response will be. You don't know whether it's going to be accepting or if it's going to be a response of like, man, this girl needs help. Or man, like sometimes when I've told people that I have a disability, they're really accepting about it. Other times they look at me completely different and they're like, man, this girl needs help. Or are you okay? And I'm like, I'm no different from when I told you that I had autism 5 minutes ago. I'm the same woman. You know what I mean? But for some reason, there's a certain thing with autism that can make people look at you differently, and no one has. Everyone has been so open to hearing about my journey and hearing about my story. And the fact that Big Brother was also just so supportive of it, I have to say thank you to the fans and thank you to everyone watching at home for allowing me to feel so comfortable being myself. Because that's
I
ultimately the reason why I could share it. You know, at the end of
It
the day,
is.
that's it. I wanted to be my authentic self 24/7 in the house. And that
Mhm.
came with sharing with you guys as America my autism story very early on. And with the house guests now, it's crazy because like even like post show, I've been talking to everyone more about my disability and I've been going through the ins and outs with my house guests because obviously they have questions about it too.
Mhm.
And it's been such great conversations. I just have to say thank you. I'm overwhelmed by the love in the sport, but it means more than I can say in words. Truly, it does.
I
It literally makes me tear up just thinking about it.
and I think it means so much to people. Like I see people in the chat like Lizzie Lemondrop who says I have autism. I look up to Brittany so much. I mean, it is, which we are going to talk about when we have the Cookout members on, but I think it's the same thing for you. Having that representation on the TV and seeing it makes people feel I can do this cuz like you said, we never really saw anyone play Big Brother that was out with autism. Yes, Ian came out and said it last season, but he played his first 2 seasons and basically all of last season not making it public. So I love it. I love that you are out there and telling people, and I can't wait to see just the good that you do with it. I think that it is very inspirational. I think that you're helping a lot of people.
That means the absolute world. And like I said, the response to from every single person that has shared their story with me, and I need to respond back to more of them. I've been going through them as I've been getting them. I'm trying to keep up with them, but so many people have had so many incredible stories of like, man, like you inspired me to audition because now I know that my disability is not me, and now I know that I can do this. Like it's not a hindrance to me. I got this because you did it. Or the fact that like I just never thought that someone with a disability could handle the pressures of the Big Brother house, and now I know that you did it and we can. You know what I mean? So because if I could do it, so can anybody else. And that was my
Yes.
biggest thing. Like, there doesn't need to be this boundary between what we can do and what we cannot do. And there needs to be more of an emphasis on what we can do as opposed to what we cannot do with a disability. Disability is something we live with. It's not everything that we are. Like, autism is a part of me, absolutely, but it does not define who I am as a person. I am Brittany D'Angelo. There are so many things that I characterize as Brittany D'Angelo, not my autism. Of course, it's become my superpower. I would be a completely different human being if I did not have autism. Let me tell you that right now. But I consider it as a part of me. It is not all of me, though. There is so much more to me than my label or my diagnosis. And that is what I really hope I got out there. And that's the message that I hope continuing on throughout the months, I drive home, is that it's so much more than a label or a diagnosis. And it does not define who you are. You are so much more than that. You know what I mean? You can do
Exactly.
anything you put your mind to. There's no limitations. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think I needed to hear this today. I see people like Christy Sturck saying I'm twice her age, and Brittany inspires me daily. So, there you are reaching a lot of people, and I know there are people that want to talk about game. We are going to talk about game. I want to ask one more question because you have gotten this from so many people.
Yeah.
While we're on this kind of topic, it's from Laura Ashley, who says, what is your advice for someone who has autism or a disability, and might be struggling but wants to be on a show like Big Brother?
You know what? My advice for that person is
Mhm.
to be authentically yourself. And it seems really, really broad, but throughout the entire casting process, I made a pact to myself that if I was going to disclose my disability, if I got on the show and I was going to disclose my disability to everybody, right? I was going to be a 100% authentic with it. And I think you are allowed to be proud of your journey. And I think it's so hard with autism because obviously there are things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis that you would never know I deal with. But there are things that I dealt with in the house that nobody obviously knew that I dealt with. You know what I mean? But understand that every obstacle that you've been through has made you stronger. And that is the story and the journey that you pitch to the casting when you go for the show. I told the casting about so many obstacles that I had to face to get to where I am today because every obstacle has made me who I am. So what I would tell someone is, number one, be authentic and real, but also own your journey 1000%, every obstacle, every up, every down, no matter what. Because the obstacles that I went through made me stronger. Being nonverbal, no social cues, and no eye contact, it's an anomaly that I'm here. You know what I mean? But I had a lot of early intervention, applied behavioral analysis therapy from when I was 2 to 5, changed my life forever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Early intervention is so key, but just be proud of your journey because it has made you who you are and you are a fighter because of it. So that's what I would say to that question is just be authentic and share your journey the most authentic way that you can. And real.
Right.
Be real with it.
Right. Well, speaking of fighting, Rod Carson over on YouTube wants to know, Brittany, how many years did it take to get your first black belt?
Oh my God, oh yay. Okay.
Yeah.
It took me 5 years to get my first black belt. And a lot of you guys don't know. So my brother Phil is also a black belt. I couldn't say it in the house because if they put two and two together, I was screwed.
Hmm.
But no, so I started karate in July of 2012. I got my first degree black belt in October of 2017 was when I got my first degree. It took me 5 years to go through 13 ranks before I hit black belt. And then 2015, I got my second degree. 2017, I got my third. And then 2020, in December, we did the whole test during COVID. That was when I got my fourth degree, and my brother got it with me. So we will both be inducted into the master ranks in 2024 together, which will be awesome.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That is incredible. I think I'm not going to be afraid if once the world starts getting back, because you're in New York, I'm in New York, there's going to
Yeah.
be like the reality events. Sometimes I get scared. I'm just going to hide behind you, Brittany.
That's okay. I'm everyone's bodyguard. I tell them that all the time. I am
Yes.
always your bodyguard. I am always the one that's going to keep it straight. Now, mind you, there's some logistical things. I like some like legal things because I'm a black belt. I have a card that I like hold in my wallet all the time. It's like a fourth degree black belt card, just in case like something happens and I have to be
Is that
like, this
like
is why.
your is that like your hands are a lethal weapon?
Kind of. It's not in New York though. I don't know if this is true or not. I have heard this through the rumor of the grapevine, but like some black belts have to register their hands and their feet. I don't have to because New York doesn't do it, but I'm not sure how legitimate that is. That was a rumor that I heard like years and years ago.
Yeah,
But
that's weird.
I do know how to I will say this, and this is what I will say about it. I do know how to defend myself very, very well.
Okay.
So if I were in that situation,
Okay.
I'm
All
not a
right.
fighter, but I will fight to live. So I will get out of that situation as quickly as possible.
Okay. I want to ask one more question from Krista89 over on
Sure.
Instagram. Wants to know, speaking of Ian, has Ian reached out to you since the season has ended? Maybe the two of you can do something together for a charity.
So Ian has not reached out to me yet. At least I've been trying to go through all the DMs. I
Hmm.
really couldn't miss it. It's been the craziest 5 days. Honestly, I've been trying to
Yeah.
stay off of social media as much as possible, besides like just posting. But I do plan on reaching out to Ian either tonight or tomorrow because that is just something that I have wanted to do. It's literally on my agenda in my planner to reach out to Ian, and just honestly say thank you to him because obviously he was the first player to play with autism. He really was the
Hmm.
one that broke the barrier in terms of neurodiversity on the show. So I have a lot to thank him for too. So I will be reaching out to him either tomorrow. Like I said, I could have missed it. I could
Yeah.
have missed
No.
it. That
And 100%. Believe me, I don't have 1/100th of what you all have, and I miss them all the time. Destinies wants to know, Brittany, if you were captain of the Jokers, who would you have picked for your team based
Whoa.
on the first impressions? Now, we know this could be, I'm totally fine with it even being a little revisionist history, but if you, like, meaning now that because you do know everyone, I think it would be hard to really say first impressions, but who would you pick? You're the captain of the Jokers. Who are you picking? And you know what?
I
I'm going to make this easy for you. You can't pick
okay.
any of the current Jokers. Obviously, we know that Brittany would choose all the same because she loves her team and it's her favorite team. I'm removing them from the table. Now, you have to pick from people that were not on the Jokers with you.
Okay. Ex Tiffany Christian.
Okay,
I
ex
would have.
Tiffany.
So I have two teams. So basically, we were also talking about this on the memory wall.
Uh
So
huh.
I would either do X. So myself, X Tiffany Christian is what goes down on the memory wall. Then in the
Mm.
box is Derek X, myself, Xavier, and Alyssa. And honestly, if I had to, I would go with either one of those teams. I probably would lean towards the second one. I probably would do DX, myself, Xavier, Alyssa. That would
Okay.
probably be the team that I would go with. But the box or the line, I was set with teams.
Yes, you are bosses
I
and
was set
lines.
with teams. If it went by the way we were structured on the memory wall, I was set no matter what way I got picked.
Speaking of being in houses, you spent the longest time out of anyone in jury, being the first juror. What was your favorite memory from your time in jury? And is there any jury story that you can tell us?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, firstly, I have to tell you, jury was phenomenal. um,
Hmm.
I loved having that first week to myself too, because it really gave me time to process the game very quickly. And then obviously I got access to a hot tub that actually worked because our hot tub in the jury house actually went to 105 degrees. The hot tub in the Big Brother house never heated past lukewarm. Sorry.
Really?
So that was a big turning point. Also, we had a basketball court in the jury house too, which was super fun. But no, I would definitely say my favorite memory from the jury house had to probably be when Tiffany and Chada came and we would play a card game called Up and Down the River. Claire taught us Up and Down the River, this big card game, and we would play it for 2 hours every single night. And then we would go and have a movie night together or like have like a family dinner and then play Up and Down the River and then watch a movie. Just like the family essence. Like we translated the family dinners in the Big Brother
Hmm.
house to like a family dinner game night movie and jury. So I would say anytime that we did that was an amazing memory. And then a story to go along with jury. Oh my God. I honestly want to tell the story of how the statue bit came to be for when I was alone in jury by myself.
Uh-huh.
The production comes to me and they pitch to me this whole idea and they're like, yeah, so like we're gonna have you kick a statue. And I was like, am I actually kicking the statue? Like that's gonna hurt my foot, isn't it? And they're like, no, 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 no. Just like we're going to mimic it. So like, basically we want you to basically like go to the statue and be like, man, like, come on, like, come at me. And obviously the statue can't move. We redid that scene at least 15 times before
Uh-huh.
they got the cut that they wanted to. It was
Uh-huh.
so, because I never did it the same way twice. It was almost like an improv game for myself. So I would like kick the
Uh-huh.
statue and then it'd be like, yeah, like boom, boom, like, come on, man, let's go. And then it'd be like, man, I got no friends. This is it. But filming the bit with the statue was just so funny because obviously DX was hidden in the movie theater, so he was seeing none of this because he was the next juror to come out. And it was just so funny because nobody knew about my martial arts at that time. So I was like, this is the only time I'm going to be able to do martial arts for the next 4 weeks. So enjoy it while it lasts. So that was a great memory for me.
Oh, I love that. Now that's so I think that yes, we loved the fighting of the statue. That
The statue.
that definitely was fun. I was gonna ask I'll save it. I'll save it because I'm gonna find out if I'm allowed to ask you it. So we'll wait. I want to ask from or Kara wants to ask, did Tiffany get the chance to talk to you about flipping the vote to keep Christian? And if she did, do you think you would have changed your mind?
So So that's kind of like an iffy question. So Tiffany never directly came and talked to me about flipping the vote for Christian, only because the time that she was going to, obviously, as you all saw, Big D and Ozzy were like, this ain't happening. And that was the night after the whole big blow up had happened in the boat room with myself, Ozzy, Big D, and Tiffany, where I was mostly sitting there and I was just kind of listening to both sides. We all went up there and then I went up to Tiffany and I was like, Tiff, like, what's up? And they were like, and Ozzy, obviously, Ozzy and Big D were with me. And they were like, look, like, we just wanted to talk to Brittany, but like, you brought two people up here. And I was like, look, they came up to make sure everything was okay. Probably because of last night. Honestly, I mean, I was there, but I was just like trying to understand both sides at the same time. So I still
Mm,
hadn't fully processed what happened the night before. Tiffany and I talked Wednesday night. I pulled her into the boat room and I was like, look, Tiff, I was like, I know you want to flip this boat. I was like, but like, is this the smartest move right now? And I was like, where are you right now? And she goes, I'm honestly 50-50. And I was like, well, Tiff, I was like, I don't know if this is the best move for us right now because Derek X wants to get out Christian and this is his HOH. So why is this week the only week that we're not going to go with the HOH? Also, I didn't want to explicitly say it, but like that was the only move that I had in the house was I was playing on the block. That was my strategy that I was dealt. Like that's the cards that were dealt to me. So that was my only move was literally being the assassin that got out Christian because if I wouldn't have
mm,
wanted taken myself off, Christian wouldn't have went up, at least not in the direct way that I did it. You know what I mean? So
right.
me coming off and winning was the reason why he went up. And so Tiffany and I basically decided in that room together, we were like, look, like there's no way we can really save him. At this point, we just need to go with the HOH. It's too early to flip it. As fun as it would have been. And honestly, and I've explained this to Christian and SB, on a personal level, I wanted Christian to stay. That was absolutely how I felt from the beginning. But because I knew that in a game wise as well, Christian wasn't coming after me, SB was. So especially when she asked me to throw the Vita to her twice that week, I really was debating it hardcore, but I was like, this is my only move that I have. You got backdoored because I won. I have to get you out because if I end up making it to a final two chair, this is a move that I can say. You know what I mean? So that was the dichotomy. But no, Tiffany never explicitly came to me, but we basically decided together that it wasn't possible.
Right. And I mean, obviously, we know that because of the cookout and, all of those things as well. We kind of saw a little bit of it in the jury. What was
Yeah.
it like for you learning about the cookout?
Oh my God. I mean, the cookout's genius. The cookout is genius. I mean, when DX came in a jury, we figured that there were four people. We knew it was Kyland, Xavier, Ozzy, and Tiffany. We didn't know about Hannah or Big D, but then I was the one who figured out the duos plan. But I did get Ozzy's duo wrong. I said Big D was Ozzy's duo instead of myself. But I got Kyland, X's, and Tiffany's duos correct.
Mm,
But then when SB came in and SB was like, there's 6 members, then obviously we knew that we didn't know that the name was the Cookout until Tiffany got there, but we knew that it was the Lions of 6 and we just called it the 6. But I mean, the Cookout is genius. The fact that you have an
mhm.
alliance of 6, and there was no way of knowing it in the house, at least from when I left, there wasn't any way because you never saw them hanging out together. There was no more than 2 in a room at any specific time. And you never would have thought that those 6 were working together. You just wouldn't have. At least being in the house, it never crossed my mind. But
Right.
I really think their gameplay was so impressive. I think Tiffany's master plan is going to go down as one of the best strategic moves in BB history. I just think it's so incredibly smart. No, I'm honored to be part of a season where the Cookout made it to 6. I think it's one of the best alliances, if not the best alliance to ever play in BB history.
I mean, it is. It clearly is the best alliance to ever play in Big Brother history. I mean,
Yeah.
they were willing to sacrifice $750,000 just
For
to
a
make
mission.
sure that one of them won. I don't know any other alliance that would be willing to do that. Like, alliances, sure, they're always going to stick together, but they're always going to put their own self-interest in winning the game ahead of the alliance, and this is the first
Absolutely.
time we've ever seen it, which is why they deserve so much respect. And yeah, I think it's honorable as well how well all of you took it, because you all were victims of the Cookout, and it would be easy to be bitter about it. And I think it's great that you all see it for what it is and are proud to be in a season that, had it for the first time in 23 years.
No, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, this season was historic for so many reasons, right? And the fact that I was even part of such a historic season, you can't be bitter against a jury who just, or against an alliance who just outplayed you, because that's exactly what they did. They just outplayed everyone, and that was it. And so you have to commend them for the amazing game that the 6 of them played in order to get themselves to 6. But also, I mean, obviously we crowned the first African American winner, Big Brother. That is historic in itself. 23 seasons is too many, but I'm really glad 23 was the one, because Xavier is an absolutely deserving winner, and I was so honored to put his key in there. I was like, X, you got my vote, man. Impressed the heck out of me.
Okay. I see Christina over on YouTube wants to know, what were your thoughts on your BB comic?
Okay, I love my BB comic. I really didn't know what they were going to do for it, but I had a feeling that I was just going to be the comp. But I was so excited because I was the only person that was a competition, which I was, at least from my knowledge, I'm the only one that was a competition. But like, I was literally the Denialator machine. And I was really honored by that. You know what I mean? Because that was just,
Okay.
I will never forget Kingdom of Kurlat. I really just loved that comp, and all of you know how badly I wanted that win. I wanted to be the first female to take home a big major comp win. I wanted it so bad I could taste it. And I went into another dimension on the Denialator. So I loved my comp, and loved my comic, and I'm so glad that they chose that.
I loved it too. I loved you winning, that comp, and we saw that you always wanted to win all the comps. I always try to, on these shows, tell the people the jokes that I used to make about them during the season. My jokes for Brittany were always, "Oh, here we go. Brittany thinks she doesn't that she has to win," or "Brittany thinks she's not going up again this week, Brittany." That was my yelling at you for every week. I was just like, do we think Brittany's gonna think she doesn't deserve to be on the block? Because my whole thing for all the years, I always hated when people would be like, "This person deserves to win or doesn't deserve." Like, it's Big Brother. I don't think anybody deserves or doesn't deserve.
Correct.
It's like whatever happens is what happens. But
Correct.
I do know that, like, that was a lot of people's questions for you,
Yeah.
saying it a bunch of different ways. I want to let you comment on what you want to comment on it. So basically, people who were watching during the season and were critical of you, saying like, you should have time off of the block because you were on the block already. What do
Yeah.
you want to say to people who are like, "I didn't like that"?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, half of me saying that to people was a strategy to hopefully get me off the block. Didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, but that was just
Uh-huh.
that. But no, I think what people don't understand until you're in the game is that no matter if I knew that I was the pawn or if I was the target, that doesn't make going on the block any easier. And it didn't make sense to me, obviously, because I obviously didn't know about the cookout. And I obviously didn't know about the royal flush. And so I didn't understand at the time why it was always me as the pawn, like why I was always the pawn figure, because I truly never saw myself as a pawn. I was a person who could win comps. I was a person who, like, I was a threat in the house to mainly all of the females. And so I was like, okay, I was like, I don't really see myself as the pawn figure, but like, we'll go with it. But no, it's just upsetting because obviously you want to play the game and you don't want to hit the block early on because you know that when you hit the block early on, you become a pawn every time. It's just, it's the reality of the game. It was never that I was like, I don't think I deserve to be on the block because I really hadn't done anything to deserve being on there, but that wasn't really it. It was just like, there are so many other people in this house. Why was I the one being picked? But obviously I didn't have the information of the cookout or the royal flush to explain that I was literally the only option to go up every single week.
And and I have to say, for people who were critical of you and how you handled that, to which is where I would defend you on this during the season, we have seen other people not let stuff go for forever. Like, yes, you were emotional over it, and I think you even said on your live, like, I had to be emotional over it for like a little bit, and like that's how I processed through it, and then I'm fine. And that is what we saw. Like, yes, you were upset for an hour or so, and then you like processed through it, and then you were like, fine, game on now. So I loved that about it. That we have definitely seen people drag it out.
Well, no, and my whole thing was I never wanted to drag it out because I didn't, there's a difference between having emotions and being an emotional player, right?
Right.
I had emotions, but I definitely was not an emotional player. I made every decision after the emotions were gone, and they were all, at least in my head, strategic as to what decisions I was making at what time, right? So obviously, I mean, but also that was the way that I processed it. You know what I mean? Like the way that something that I do with all the time in terms of my disability is the fact that I need to sub vocalize in order to process things. And my way of coping with a lot of the quick minute decisions in the house was tears because I just needed to get it out. And I was like, okay, once I've released it, once I've released the endorphins that come out when crying or whatever they're called, I think it's endorphins, I was going to be okay after that. So if I released it, I was fine. But it's just, there's a difference though between emotions and being an emotional player. No decision that I made in that game, no conversation that I had in that house was emotional. It was always strategic. But it was just, did I sometimes use the fact that I was in block and I was in tears as a way of like gaining some sympathy with some people? I mean, absolutely. You got to play it up sometimes. But did I have some crocodile tears? Absolutely. You got to play it up sometimes. But it was just being on the, like, and also your emotions change too. You know what I mean? Like first week was just like emotional because that like second week that I was nominated by Kyland, it was just emotional. Even though I knew I wasn't the target and I knew I was the pawn, I genuinely feel that Kyland that week, had Frenchie won the veto and took himself off in some world, would have been okay with me going home. Like he would have been content with it because he'd been telling me that entire, he would have been content because he was telling people the entire week, look, like Brittany knows so much about the game. She's so smart about the game. Like he was telling me this. And I was like, Kyland, I've known you for 9 days. Like, what does this make sense? So like that was really difficult. Then the next week I knew I was going up and I knew Xavier was not going to send me home no matter what. He did not want me out of the house no matter who I was up against. But like that one was more of like a, man, I'm just pissed that I'm here again, but I know why I'm here. And then DX was all crocodile tears because I knew I was coming off no matter what. And I knew I was not going home. Even if I was up against Sarah Beth, I knew Sarah Beth was going home. I knew I had the votes to stay. So like the emotions differed throughout the weeks. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, do you know that Derek Frazier is responsible for keeping you in the house all those weeks? And that was just a joke. It was a bad joke.
Oh my God. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait a second. What? I love Big D, but wait a second, what?
It's just a bad joke, but I will let everybody know Derek is joining us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you guys can come on down and ask him all your questions tomorrow night. And as long as we're here, Tiffany will be Friday at 7 p.m.
Yay!
Okay. It is, he was saying that. Actually, you know what? Oh, darn. Who was the one that asked it? I feel like we are at the point now, Brittany, where we get each other. I feel like now I can ask you a little bit of a shady question. You can
Sure. Go ahead.
the question's shady. You can answer it however you want. It is
Sure.
from Soccer Girls X2 on Instagram, and she
Okay.
says, as a fellow Joker, Brittany, whose team are we on? Oz's or Derek Frazier's? Now, you might not have heard or seen yet, but there was a little bit of friction between our fellow Joker pals, Derek and Ozza.
Uh,
Derek, that last week in the house, kind of saying that he felt like maybe Ozza didn't deserve to be where she was, and that he
yeah.
regretted sending out Kyland. And then, Ozza, rightfully so, expressed that she was very upset about that, and it made
Okay.
her be willing to take Xavier if she had won. She went, the joke is all Derek had to do was not say anything and he would have been taken by Ozza. But he did, and and they're fine now. From what we can see, they're fine now. We're gonna ask
Yeah.
Derek tomorrow, and everything's great. But people are asking, whose side are you on?
Who? Well, honestly, it's
It's
tough because
hard
I
because you
really
didn't
don't.
see it.
Yeah, it's tough because number one, I didn't see it, and number two, I also
Mhm.
have like I've heard very little about it, but like I said, I've really tried to stay off social media as much as possible. Um, I will say I will take this stance until I know fully the instance of what happened.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna take the Switzerland stance and
Oh,
go
good.
right and like,
Okay.
well, honestly, only because I really do love the both of them, and they both are going to be
Uh-huh.
my best friends for life. So I will say the Switzerland only because I don't think it's fair of me to make a judgment on it when I have not seen and or do not know the full context of what happened. So
This is totally fair. I have broken out my chapstick. I was prepared for this. I'm gonna trap you now in the way that I've trapped our good pal Nicole Anthony in the past. So I'm gonna ask
okay,
it a different way, Brittany. You ready?
sure, go ahead.
The boat with Ozza and Derek Frazier is drowning. You're on the boat. You can only save one. Who are you saving?
I am saving Ozza.
I save Ozza good. That's who I would have saved too. I would have saved Ozza too. And I can't believe you answered it. I was ready to bail you out of that one.
Here's my whole thing, but also Big D knows this. Like this is
Yes.
no shock to Ozza was my final two in that house. Like
Right.
Ozza and I just had we had a bond from day one. And like Big D is going to be my brother for life. But like there is way more that I talk to Ozza about on a daily basis and just so many things that we related on and coped with. But like Ozza and I had so many more heart to hearts in the house and just like we like that girl's gonna be my soul sister for life. She asked me to be in her wedding whenever that happens. She's going to be in mine. She literally told me that she will come out of bridesmaid retirement just to be in my wedding. And I said, that's right. You have no choice. But no, honestly, only because I mean, she's my final two. She's my girl. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go with Ozza. I love Big D though. Big D is going a best friend of mine for life. But if I gotta go with my final two. You
Look,
know?
I hear you. I don't know what this means. Like, obviously, I am a gay man. I have been married for 20 years more. But there is part of me that if Ozza was like, Eric, I want to marry you and we're going to go live fairy tale forever, I'd be like, yes. I
You'd be
just want
like,
Ozza. I'm in love with Ozza. Like, I don't, like, I have a crush on Ozza.
she's just the most down to earth human being. She's just the way that we connected on so many different things. You know what I mean? Like she had her Bible in the house and we would do Bible study together. Like we would like read like things and like we'd like discuss it together. We would talk about life and family together. We cried over her not seeing like day 3 we were crying over our families together. You know what I mean? But she was just the person who she always had my back up until she absolutely couldn't have. You know what I mean? And my that's my whole thing is like Big D and Ozza, I knew had my back until they couldn't. You know what I mean? But that's why I was so happy for them when they did not come walking in jury because I was like, that's right. You stay in the house. Don't come here. You go there. If I'm here, you're there. That's right. I'll see you on finale night. Don't come sooner. Like, y'all better stay in
Okay.
that house.
So here's a question from Anne. She wants to know, which house guest were you the happiest to see walk into the jury house? Have a feeling it's the same one I was.
Is that a question? If it wasn't apparent by my reaction, I was definitely happy to see Kylan walk through the jury roundtable doors. That was
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
that was the one. Only because at the round table it was so weird because the chair next to me was the one that was open. So
Uh,
they put us in our spots and it's one next to me that's open and we were all like, "Oh, well, Oz is coming." Because why would you put Kylan next to me? And then Kylan comes out, and obviously you all saw my reaction and how excited I was for that. But no, I was very shocked. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, we're seatmates. What's up, Kai?
First
Hello.
of all, first of all, I think we all tuned into jury segments just for your reactions. So that's number one. Number two, there was not nearly enough of the Kyland coming into jury for me. It felt, I was just like, I wanted it in slow motion. I wanted like the TikTok rewind. I wanted to see it replayed with everyone's face. I wanted hissing. I wanted like him to walk through and people be like, I wanted like Tiffany to like throw shit at him. I wanted blood. Like I wanted to bathe in Kylan blood. I feel like they very much, in my opinion, tried to keep it very positive, which I'm
Yeah.
thrilled. I am thrilled that they wanted this positive and great message to end the season. And I
Yeah.
just say I haven't forgotten that Kylan was the villain of the season.
I didn't either. I mean, how like that was my biggest thing even too, because like when we were in jury, I would always get asked like, does Kylan not have your vote no matter who he goes with? And my biggest debacle was like, look, like I know Kylan's got blood on his hands, and I know he's won these competitions, and I don't not respect the game that he's playing because the moves that he's made, he's felt like he needed to make in the moment. My only problem was I had a real issue giving $750,000 to someone who I felt did not respect me. And that was my biggest debate, was like the way that everything went down after he backdoored me. Like, look, I understand if I'm the most unpredictable person for your game, and or the cookout needed to get me out because I was the first victim. Like, I understand that that's a game move, but everything you did after I was already locked in to go home essentially was just uncalled for, such as saying that I had a lack of comprehension on the deal that we clearly made and you all saw I was correct about. So did I have a lack of comprehension? Not really. Or threatening me after he apologized for the veto speech where he said that I basically sucked and couldn't win OTEV, and was like, you better not put my name in your mouth or else we're going to come after you. And like, you really don't want to get on my bad side, and like getting in my face and threatening me. Or to the fact of like just talking to me like I was like not intelligent. And I was like, Kylan, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, if you can speak to me in this regard and you really don't understand how you're speaking to me, then this is a further, like, you just don't respect me. And that was where my issue was. Cause I was like, I wanted to go up there and I wanted to mend things with him in case I stayed, but I was like, I don't think there's a way. Cause I've never been talked to like that before in my life. It just like I don't know. It was so odd for me to deal with. But like I'll never even forget the DR had called me down so many times. They're like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" And I was like, I mean, I'm fine. I'm just confused as to why this is all happening once I'm already going home. Like it just didn't make sense.
I'll say that is literally word for word. That was Oz's reason for always saying she was going to take Derek and then switching it to I'm going to take Xavier. Same exact thing of I don't want to award someone who I feel does not respect me or feel I deserve to be where I am in this game.
Yeah.
That's not who I want to help win money for. And you're correct. You're correct on all of that with Kylan. I always said same thing. I would always think I would not be a bitter juror. And I said all along, Kylan deserves to win this game, even though I realize I'm a hypocrite. It's Big Brother season. We're all have to be hypocrites. He did the most for that cookout up until, up into the end game. And
Yeah.
the fact that the majority of the fandom, in my opinion, I don't mean to speak for them, the fans that I see around our shows were not a fan of Kyland. And I very much was like, that's probably because he's controlling the game and playing the best game. However, same as what you said, when it gets into the condescending, the way he talked to you, the way he talked to other people, and honestly, the straw that broke, the camel's back for me was when he, like, which you might not know yet, is he kind of involved Tiffany's kid on the feeds and being like, you should have told your mom not to lie to me in her letters. And then what we all wanted you guys in the jury to see was what he was referencing of at the door when he was going to be removed, and him bringing up Xavier's nephew for his brother that died. You did see that whole exchange?
So I saw the X exchange. I did not see anything involving Tiffany though and her son.
That was on the feeds. That was on the feeds when he was.
Exchange, the X exchange we watched, and my jaw hit the floor. I had to literally pick it up off the floor. I was like,
me too.
What?
Yeah.
Like I was like you got blindsided. Like you're out, like it's Big Brother. You got blindsided. Why are we involving family members in this? Like, no. Like,
I mean, I have my own theory that he was trying to get Xavier to hit him. That's my theory. Because
my parents have a similar theory. Obviously, I'm not really sure what he was trying to instigate in that moment, but I just think that was definitely just not needed. It was not needed, uncalled for, and just didn't need to happen in the first place. Just if you were evicted, then just you take your stuff and you go. It's Big Brother, you know what I mean? They outsmarted you in that moment,
Yeah, the way he expected you to go and be fine with it, and every other person that he talked to like an idiot and manipulated out the door, and now you got played, buddy, but you don't have the class and the integrity that a person like Brittany does.
No, and you know what? I always wanted to go out. I mean, I tried my absolute best to play this game with class, integrity, and just being my honest self. You know what I mean? Because I wanted everyone to get to know me for me. Absolutely. But also on eviction night too, someone even asked me, they were like, how are you so positive when you got evicted? And I was like, well, number one, I found it an hour and a half before it happened. So everybody basically told me. But also but it's bigger than an eviction. You know what I mean? Like I still got to go to jury. I still got to cast a vote for the winner. And I was a part of the season still. Like I still got cast, and that is such a monumental achievement. And also I still made it to jury. So like made it to jury, first female to win a veto. That ain't too bad. I'll take it.
Well, now speaking of that, Krista in You Now chat wants to know, what is your relationship like with Kyland now? Have you guys talked? Or are you just like, okay, we were on the show together, we agree to disagree? Like, what, have you talked at all or anything since the season's been over?
Yeah, so honestly, since finale night, we have not talked. I came home immediately after the show's end just because I really wanted to see family. I missed my family so much. And also my Nana, who is 82, she was actually hospitalized. So that's why I came home immediately. She just got out of the hospital Friday night. She's okay. She's healthy. She's getting better. She's resting up. But that definitely was my reason to be like, yep, you got to go home and just make sure my Nana's okay because she's 82. But no, honestly, we have not talked since the end of the show. He did tell me that I was incredible after coming out with my diagnosis on finale night, and I really did appreciate that. I definitely know that we do have to have a conversation, and I'm definitely waiting for that conversation to happen, and I'm willing to have it with him because I'm really hoping that the way that he spoke to me was game. And I'm really hoping that it was not his actual thoughts of me, but I definitely think that is a conversation that still needs to be had because what was said to me in the house was not correct. It was not right. And he needs to know that. And he needs to know exactly how I feel right now so that we can move forward. Like I said, I really do hope it's just game. And I hope it's just him being a really active game player and wanting to cover himself for the next week or whatever it was. But I would like to talk to him and clear things because obviously I like being civil with everybody. If I
Right.
like, if I'm not friends with you, I like
Right.
being civil with everybody. I like being cordial. But I mean, I also would like to see if the Kylan outside of the game is a completely different Kylan. So you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
give the
And I
benefit of
hope.
the doubt, and I
Right.
hope it is too. You know what I mean? And I give the benefit of doubt. I give the benefit of the doubt to everyone. You know what I mean? And like I said, I would love to have a conversation with him about it. We have not since, but there definitely is things that we need to talk about because there are things that I need to express to him about how I
Yeah.
truly feel about things that happen.
That is always my hope. I never care what anybody does in the game. You can be the most horrible person in the game. I
Yeah,
get everyone plays this game differently. It's how the people are in the real world that
correct.
lets me know how I'm going to react to them. I'm still so for me in the real world right now, I was hoping to have an update because I'm still waiting to hear Kyland, apologize for the way he's, you know, treated a lot of the women in that house. I want to ask one last question. Again, I know you haven't seen a lot of it, but
Yeah.
Lost in Concruz says, does Brittany think, or we'll phrase it like this, do you think that any of the men in the cookout were misogynistic? Or I feel like if that's too strong, do you think that any of the men in the cookout talked down to the women or didn't respect the women in the house or didn't value the women in the house? Now, again, I know you haven't seen the show, but this was a big topic for those people watching it. So, based on your interactions with, I would say all the guys in the house, really. I don't know why we're
Yeah.
just limiting it to the cookout. Do you feel like any of them didn't really value the women of the house?
Yeah, so this is what I will say on that. I think out of I'll start with the cookout first. And I only can speak on my experience. I can't really speak on everybody
Mm-hmm.
else's. Obviously, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what was said in every single moment. But I
Right.
only can speak for myself. The only two, maybe not two, but I would say, I mean, obviously X was so respectful, never ever. Big D was never to me. I know I have, from the little bit that I've seen, I've heard his name come around with that, but that was never the way he talked to me personally, just because I mean, obviously, as you all know, we had just such a close relationship. So I cannot say, so X and Big D, no. Kyland, yes. Um, Frenchie, no. Christian, no. Travis, no. Brent, Brent's tough because Brent and I really didn't talk in the house. I'm going to be really honest with you. Like, not until we
Mm-hmm.
were up on the block together did we like ever have a conversation.
Right.
But I do know some of the things like Brent's comments are more well known to me. And I know I had talked to Whitney that week that he was going, and Hannah the week that he was going, and Alyssa the week that he was going, and like the things that he was saying to them, and just the comments that he was making, I was not okay with. Just because that's just not
Right.
appropriate. So I definitely think that Brent was someone who, from what I had heard, like I said, I never heard any of these comments come out of his mouth, but from what I had heard from the women in the house, I would say Brent did not treat the woman the best in the house. But I would also say that Colin did not either. But I would say those were probably the only two that I had experience with, only because, like I said, I had that one-on-one time the week that Brent was going home, and Hannah opened up to me about what Brent was doing and saying to her. And then Whitney opened up to me about what Brent was doing and saying to her. And then I witnessed Alyssa's.
Yeah.
I witnessed a 20-minute conversation of Brent trying to hit on Alyssa and being like, look, like we're meant for each other. Like we would be great. Like I can teach you how to fly. Like it was something like along the lines of like, I can teach you how to soar through the sky and you can keep me grounded kind of thing because he's a pilot. And the fact that like they're going to meet up at each other on Halloween and how they'd be such a better couple outside of the show, just like things like that. And I was sitting in the chess room for that entire exchange, and I went up to her afterwards and I was like, Alyssa, are you okay? Like what? Like I was so confused and thrown off guard because I was like, wait a second, what? You know what I'm saying? So
I, oh,
that, yeah.
Yeah, I first of all, I'm just floored that Brent was using the dreamers and realists quote that I love, which is like, the dreamers and realists need each other because, the realists make things happen, and they make sure that the dreamers don't go too high or whatever. Now I'm forgetting it and ruining it, but it's always very emotional every time I would hear it, and I love it. But this is what I will say. I agree. Brent on the feeds, Brent in the game, whatever. Clearly not good, not whatever. Like, yes, we all agree he did not do and say good things when he was in the house. I will say, and I don't claim to be a Brent expert, but the few things that I have seen Brent post after he's been out of the house seems to be have been in support of the women in the house. Now, whether I'm not going to speak to if that's sincere or not sincere, but I saw him praising the women. We saw his jury question was very praising of Tiffany. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is with Brent.
I mean, my
I
whole
think,
thing is like,
yeah,
all power to the entire cast. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's the whole thing. We all went through an experience together. It's just, I mean, I can, like I said, I haven't watched and I haven't really seen a lot on the outside world. I can only speak to what I saw.
right,
And that's
exactly,
just a lot. Like, there were many things that I just did not agree with that he said. And that's
right.
just the bottom line.
Well, I want to ask you a very important question from someone that I think you're going to love getting a question from. And it is from Farmer Frenchie. And he says, Brittany, who is your favorite new actual Big Brother?
My favorite new actual Big Brother. Well, I have two. It's Frenchie and Big D. I have two
Okay.
new Big. Well, technically, I have three because X has also claimed himself as my brother as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely say Frenchie, Big D, X. Just because I truly like they're all my big brothers. You know what I mean? And like truly going in a house and you create such organic and real relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
And Frenchie and I created such an organic relationship off week one. Obviously, Frenchie picked me as a Joker, which obviously I've been hearing so many people say that the Jokers are their favorite team, and I just want to say thank you because Jokers for life, baby. But like Frenchie picked me on his team. Big D and I clicked like this, and then X and I just grew over the weeks since his HOH week three until I left. We grew such an organic relationship, the two of us, and like we would hang out and talk heart to hearts all the time, and it was just wonderful. You know what I mean? So I would say
Yeah.
all three of them, to be honest.
You got this question from a bunch of people, but
Okay.
BB Hyde wants to know, or actually, I'll just put it to you this way. If the final two was Ozza and Big D, who would
Yep.
you have voted to win?
I would have voted for Ozzy to win.
Okay, and if it was Ozza and Xavier,
X.
you would have voted for X to win. Okay.
Would have, well, because my whole thing is this, and let me explain this. So it was tough because X versus Ozza was my closest matchup in my head. But I really would have had to hear out the answers because if Ozza had made it to final two, that meant that obviously she did something right. So I mean, you know what? Maybe for that one, I don't really say it. I don't know, but like I feel like I would have had to give in that one to X still, just because of just how well rounded of a game he played, and the
Yeah.
fact that I think he played a more aggressive game in terms of like winning comps, and the fact that he was able to throw so many. But honestly, that would have been a toughie for me. It would have been, but I think Ozza Big D would have been Ozza. X versus Ozza. I would have had to listen to the questions, but I think knowing the game that X played all the way around and the answers that he gave us on that jury finale, I think X would have gotten it for me. I
Yeah.
wanted to be an objective juror. I wanted to go in voting for who played the best game, not voting for like that. I mean, that's my whole thing. That's who I said with anybody, because everybody was like, I'm
Right.
surprised Brittany didn't give her vote to Big D. And I was like, I love Big D. Big D's my best friend, but I wanted to crown the overall best winner of BB23, and that overall best winner was X.
Right. Right. I was always confused why, when people are on the block and they know that they're in danger, I guess it's because everyone is holding on to hope. I like to think, well, first of all, you couldn't pay me enough money to play Big Brother, but I like to think if I was on the block and I felt I was going home and it was jury, my speech on finale, like my speech to try and convince people to keep me is I would be like, okay guys, so before you go in there and vote, just know that if you send me to jury, I will do nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe every moment making sure you don't win. I know we have to vote for one of you at the end, but I will make sure it is the one that I like and that I don't feel betrayed by. Right now, I'm feeling betrayed by list them off. So I am going to really make sure that everyone does not let you win if you vote for me right now. Okay, have fun voting, guys. Bye, Julie. And I'd sit back down.
You know, that is a way to do it.
It is.
That
I mean, a
is
rap
way to,
works too.
you know, I will say it was, but I like, okay, this is the funny part about rapping. I
Uh-huh.
never had rapped before in my life. I literally just did it because it was a fun pastime in the house. Like
Right.
it was just something that I just did because I had literally nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? No, I made my piece very well known in jury. Let me just put it that way. I made my piece as to who the vote was not going to very abundantly clear in
Right.
jury. But I also though, while I was in jury though, I actually did make a pros and cons list for all four of them, all four of the final four. And I
Okay.
like wrote down all the pros and cons to all of their games because, like I said, I wanted to go into it objectively. And if Kylan had sat in that final three, I wanted to make sure that I had a pro and a con to go with it, or a pro and many cons.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure that I was objectively thinking about everything that he actually did do in his game, so that I could evaluate him properly. Right? Personal feelings
Right.
aside, I need to objectively look at him.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I think you're gonna be fine with it. Normally, we like to try and keep these shows to like an hour, which we're at now. But you have so many more questions. Do you want me to keep giving you some more questions?
Keep going. Let's do it. Let's do
Okay,
it, baby.
let's keep doing it
Let's
because I really there's a lot of good ones that I see that are still left. I love this one from Melanie, which is, what was something that shocked you to learn when you got out of the house? So, something that shocked you that happened in the game. We can start there. And then, was there anything that happened in the real world while you were sequestered away in the house that shocked you? But first, was there
yeah.
anything in the game that shocked you?
You know, was there anything in the game? Okay, honestly, I will say this. One moment that really did shock me in the game, no lie, was beating Derek X in round 4 of Kingdom of Carlot. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I thought when they were like, "You were separated by 1 point," I was like, "I lost." I was like, I got up and started walking towards the benches, and they're like, "Derek X, you've now been eliminated," and I was like, I'm safe and I'm going to the Denialator. Like I
Right,
was
right.
flipping out. Like that was probably the most shocked. And then obviously when DX walked into jury was probably another top shock moment.
Not
But I
Claire
coming in a jury?
at the hands of Tiffany.
Oh, I mean, but
Or
we
you
knew she
guys knew.
But we knew she was coming no matter what. At that point, we knew who was in the 6, and we knew that Claire and Alyssa were coming next. And we knew that their order were interchangeable, but
Right.
we knew that Claire was the secret HOH. She had to throw that HOH, so she'd be the first one, and then they would get out Alyssa in the double unless she won. So, but no, we expected it. We were shocked that Tiffany was the one that took her out, but ultimately, though, the mission was bigger. You know what I mean? So Tiffany literally didn't have a choice. Alyssa was safe. Claire was the only one. So
Right.
once we understood it that way, we were like, okay, she literally had no choice. Not that it was great because she was her duo, but she was the only one that had to do that. But no, I would say those are my two top shock moments from the game. In the real world, I would have to say my top shock moment was hearing Simone Biles got the twisties in the Olympics.
Okay.
And just learning about the women's Olympic team, but also I just have to say Simone Biles is one of the bravest, most amazing human beings in the world. The fact that she was so proactive to be like, look, I need a break. And then she came back for that beam final and got a bronze. Are you kidding me? After like being out with the twisties, I'm like, you had the twisties and you got a bronze. Like,
Yep.
what?
Yep.
Like she's the GOAT in more ways than just gymnastics. The way that and I've watched mostly all of that Olympics back for her, but like the way that she handled herself in the Olympics and how just it devastated me that she was even going through it in the first place. It really did, just as someone who's a fan of Simone Biles. But the fact, like, just how poised she treated it, and she was such a team leader, and she was like, look, guys, you've got this. I was crying, and I was like, Simone is just a queen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She had something that she couldn't really avoid. It was a mental health thing, and I'm so glad that she took the break that was well deserved for her to get better and get in the right mindset. But also, she's such a strong young woman, and I look up to Simone so much in so many ways, and I just love her. So I would say just her courage and her bravery in the Olympics was something that I was so like just it made me cry. It was incredible.
I have to say, Little Big Red specifically asked that question of you too. She wanted to know what you thought of the Olympics and
Yeah.
the team going to Tokyo. Courtney wants to know, is there any question that you have about something that you want cleared up? Because, we have the live feed updaters all season that are
Yeah.
updating 24/7. Was there anything that, like, you were like, ooh, I wish I knew, like, what really happened here or what really happened there? Now, I always feel like you've been out of the house long enough to find out if you were really wondering, but I'm still gonna ask.
No, you know what? There is one thing.
What?
The week that I was backdoored, so it would have been the Sunday before. Monday was the veto meeting, so the Sunday before in week 6, Aza had a 2.5 hour conversation with Kyland in the HOH room. And I just want to know what was said in that conversation because, to my knowledge of what happened, I was
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to go home that week. But apparently, it was Aza that made Kyland upset that then got me backdoored, is my understanding of it. I could be wrong. This it just is
Now,
just like things that I've
oh
seen.
God.
Clarify this for me, please.
Okay, well, Courtney's gonna answer that in the chat because I have such a horrible memory. I feel like it was Sarah Beth, but I'm gonna wait a second. I will say this:
Beth
Ozzy
had it.
Azza did go to bat for you the first time. She flat out was like, do not put Brittany up. Put me up instead of Brittany. She flat out, she fought with Kylan. We all thought it was going to be the end of the cookout. She fought with Kylan so hard to be like, do not put, not Kylan, I'm sorry, Xavier, of do not put up Brittany again. She was just up. Do not do it. Put me up. And Xavier was like, you're in the cookout. I'm not putting you up. Okay. So, I'm seeing it was Sarah Beth. It was
Correct.
Sarah Beth who pushed more. And Sarah Beth was supposed to go first. That's
Correct.
why they were mad that Kylan
Kylan.
won. Azza was supposed to win that comp. Does that make
Correct.
sense?
No, I knew that. I knew Ozzy was supposed to win that week. I was just curious as to what that 2.5 hour conversation was because I literally she came downstairs and I was like, "Are you okay?" Like,
It
you've
was
been up there
about
for
that. It was about the Ozza was supposed to win it. It was supposed to be thrown to her being more upset about it not being thrown to her. It was more about that. It really wasn't a lot. It really wasn't about you. It was the cookout had a lot of issues that they had to work through
Yeah.
from week to week. As you could imagine, because it's always, Tiffany's plan was you have your person. And I mean, the plan was supposed to be the person went on the block with their person, and then the cookout voted the other one out. Well, the person's person made them comfortable. And
Correct.
think that they weren't going out. Now, that never really happened a lot as it was supposed to because the people were always fighting. Azza was always going to bat for you. She was always very much like, I don't want Brittany going. She should not go. It shouldn't always be our team. And Derek fought for you as well, too. Although, I like to give the cookout shit of where, a lot of people say, or Derek will say, or Xavier will say, I was always the pawn. I sacrificed myself to go up, to go up there instead of so-and-so. Y'all had the numbers. So were you really you weren't really doing anything. You knew you were all keeping each other safe. So you're not in any threat. So when you
No.
say I volunteered to go up, you knew the cookout was keeping you. So that was always a wash for me whenever they use that as a reason why they, deserve the win or deserve this I'm like, no, you all could have done that. because you all were protecting each other in, in
Yeah.
a sense, in that way.
I
Okay,
second.
Melissa wants to know, is there any other team that you wish you would have aligned with in the house? Like, looking back now, like, obviously you were a Joker. Do you wish you would have aligned more with anyone else in the house?
I mean, I wish the Kings and the Jokers had made our agreement official. Like, we had an agreement after week 4 that, like, we weren't going to come after each other had something happened. That was kind of like an unspoken rule for us. And honestly, I was really okay with that because I was cool with all 4 of them in the Kings. Um, but no, honestly, I guess that would have been the only one because I already had 2 different alliances with Claire and Tiffany. We had the Kingslayers, which was myself, Azza, Claire, and Tiffany, and then I had Silent Assassins, which was just Claire, Tiffany, and myself. So like I already was aligned with the Queens. Kylan and I were never really going to be aligned ever. And if we were, that was ruined when week 5 he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to use the veto to save Sarah Beth, just to let you know." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, thank
Yeah.
you for telling me. Thank you for being honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the aces were just besides like DX and Chata was like we just I guess I would say I just wish we formally would have made something with the Kings because I think
Right.
that would have been a smart move. But also they had something with the Queen, so maybe
Right.
my whole thing was I wasn't in the Royal Flush and I wasn't in the Cookout and I still made it to jury. So kudos to you.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's hard. It's very, it's just
It
kind of
is
like last season. If you weren't in the whatever their thing
the
was called,
committee.
the committee. If you weren't in the committee, you were going home, and it didn't matter. So yeah,
No.
it's kind of like that. But your game is, like you said, so amazing because you made it to jury in spite of that, and I
Correct.
think it speaks a lot. Like, yes, people were fighting for their people, but I feel Azza Pro- I would say Azza fought the hardest for you always. I would say Tiffany also fought very hard for Claire, but Tiffany always found herself in the position of power when the Claire things had to happen. So she couldn't really fight and she had to make that decision. Whereas Azza, I always felt in a way, was almost jeopardizing her position with the Cookout
Yeah.
at times because she always fought so hard for you. Whereas an Xavier would just kind of sit back and not really say anything. Or, even Hannah would kind of just not say anything and let Derek X go. Whereas Azza was always very vocal of, it doesn't need to be Brittany. I don't know why it needs to be Brittany. So if that
Yeah.
gives you comfort, I hope that you know how hard Azza fought, for you to
Oh
stay
no.
as long as possible.
Absolutely. And I know she did too, because originally, like, even Chada and Tiffany had explained it to me that I was supposed to be where Alyssa's eviction was. Like, I was supposed to be
Correct.
there because they
Yeah.
wanted someone who could beat Derek X in a battle back to take him out. And so
Mhm.
they thought that out of the 5 that I would be equipped to beat DX and do what I needed to do. But then obviously just because Kylan won that HOH and then that kind of stuff happened, that I was just the first one to go. No hard feelings on my part. I was like, that's fine. But no, I absolutely know how hard Azza fought for me all the time. And it was crazy too because Tiffany and Chada came in and they were like, Big D and Azza almost dropped the cookout for you. They were like, they were this close to like being like, it's Brit. Like
Mhm.
they really were. And oh, hello. They were, my mother just walked in the door. They were so like, that's why I know like how much they love me, you know what I mean? And I knew how much they wanted me to stay in the game just because they showed it, you know what I mean? And they didn't
Right.
need to say anything to me. I knew they were fighting their butts off for me to stay. And I knew right when I had told them that it was me, obviously they knew it, but like when I told them that it was me, I mean, I could just see it in Asa's face that she had just tried everything she could have and it just
Right.
didn't work. And that's okay
It
because
didn't
that's
work.
the game of Big Brother. Like, that's it. You know what I mean?
I wanna ask you a question that a lot of you, the younger fans, I think always ask, but they just love to know this.
Okay.
Would you ever do Survivor?
Oh my God, of course. I started watching Survivor when I was 5. So I started
Okay.
watching Big Brother when I was 18. I've been watching Survivor for 19 years of my life. So I would 100% do Survivor if I was asked. I
Okay.
think Survivor is so I think Survivor's so fun. I would totally do it.
Okay. Amazing Race.
I would do it 100%.
Who would you
100%.
do Amazing Race with? Who would you want to do it with if you could pick anyone?
I mean, any Joker. Any Joker. Frenchie, Big D, Asa. Any Joker.
Okay. Okay. And then lastly, the challenge. Would you ever do the challenge?
Oh, of course. Of course. I think it's funny because like I think the challenge in terms of like my skill set, I think out of the three of them, obviously I'm a runner. Like I just run a lot, so Amazing Race would work well in that regard. In terms of like physical challenges that I would have to do, I think the challenge is the most adept to what I do
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis. But no, I would play all three of them. Oh my God. I love games. I love competition. So like sign me up for everything. Like I don't care. It's
I
just so fun.
I would love to see you. I would love to see you on the challenge. I would love actually to see you do the challenge. And I agree. I think that that would be a great fit for you to do the challenge.
I just
Um,
think it'd be so much fun. Like they're all so diverse in their own ways. But like Amazing Race, I feel like would challenge me the most, which intrigues me to the Amazing Race. Cause like I feel like that would be the show that would really, really challenge me. And I'm always up for a good challenge. So like it's like, but also Survivor would challenge me in different ways too, because you know you're living on a beach. So like I just all of them would challenge me in different ways. I'd be open to all three of them.
okay. I do love that. I see people in chat are wanting to know where can they get Team Brittany shirts?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm wearing one right now. I've just because it went well with the black blazer. Okay, so in my bio there is a link tree link. If you
Uh-huh.
click on the link tree link, it literally says Team Brittany t-shirts, and they are made by a wonderful Facebook page called L Sister Creations. All you
Okay.
have to do is message them, and they will get you a Team Brittany t-shirt. Like that's it. It literally the link on my link tree. If you just click on it, it goes right to their Facebook page. Just DM them, and they will get you in they'll get you a shirt.
Okay.
They were
I
so nice.
love it.
Like they reached out to my mom during the show, and like that's how the Team Brittany t-shirts came to be. So,
That's
and then
brilliant.
$1 at least of every t-shirt proceed will be going to my charity of choice, which is the Summit Center in Western New York and Buffalo. So that was the center that gave me the applied behavioral analysis therapy throughout my entire life. That's where I went to preschool, and they did so much for me in terms of my early intervention with autism. So $1 of each shirt proceeds will be going to them.
I love that. Okay. I'll say final question from our town. He wants to
Okay.
know what is something you learned about yourself coming out of this whole Big Brother experience that you maybe didn't know about yourself before you started it?
Um, oh, I really love this question. I would have to say that I am much more independent than I thought I was. It's so crazy because like my journey with autism, it takes a village to raise somebody with autism. I firmly believe that, and I had a kick butt village that helped raise
Hmm.
me. But going on this show, like my mother and I do everything together. Like she is my
Right.
best friend, she's my rock, she's my everything, and I could not speak to her for 3.5 months. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that was the biggest deciding point of me going on the show was could I be away from my mother and my family and my rock and my support system without someone to sub vocalize to that I trusted 100% for 3 months? That was a real debate for me. And I realized that I can
Hmm.
and that I can handle myself and that I was able to be independent in that regard. And I can't tell you how proud that made me because obviously I miss my mother dearly, but that was such an accomplishment for me to be able to play the game of Big Brother in such a high pressure environment independently by
Yeah.
myself for the very first time in my life. So I would have to say that.
Okay, I love that. Now, you have so many fans that are out, that have come out to watch you here tonight. I want to give you full screen. I want to give you the floor to say whatever it is that you want to say to all of your fans that have
Yeah.
come out here tonight. Now, I'm not going to put any pressure on you to do it as a rap. That's up to you. No, you don't have to at all. No, 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 you don't have to at all. I'm gonna give you full screen first to say what you want to say to all of your fans that came out tonight, and then I will come back and we'll go over socials and all of those things. So with that said,
Absolutely.
Brittany, the floor is yours.
Oh my gosh. Everyone, I truly just want to say a couple things. Firstly, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all of your love and support this season. It truly has meant the world. All of your messages, love, support, heartfelt messages, just kind words, words of encouragement. It all just has meant more than I can even say to you. And I just truly want to say thank you for that, because this journey has been so crazy and so wonderful and just so insane. And I just can't believe that I'm here. And I just want to truly say from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. I also want to thank you all, like I said in the beginning of the show, for just accepting me for me. You know what I mean? It is so, one of the most difficult things going into this casting process was making the decision of whether or not I was going to share my autism journey with all of you. And I am so beyond thrilled to really share my journey, my entire journey with all of you in the upcoming weeks and months and years for that matter. But the fact that you all accepted me for me and unapologetically accepted me, even with having autism, it means more than I can say, because as someone who is diagnosed with autism, it is definitely a fear that we have of will people accept us, even if they know that fact? Will people accept us, even though they know we have autism? And you all did, with open arms. And I just want to say thank you for that. And I want to say that I love you all, and I cannot wait to meet you all. I want to hug each and every one of you and give you all the biggest energy hug of my life. And I just truly want to say thank you. So thank you all for supporting me throughout this journey. Thank you for 100 BB bucks, because that was sick. But also just, I love you all, and I cannot thank you enough for your love and support.
Oh, I love it. All of chat is saying, no, you're crying. All of chat loves you so much, Brittany. Now, I get to ask a question to end with.
Okay,
Now, well, I'll ask you this first.
sure.
Because obviously it would be impossible to get to all of the questions for you, and where do you want people to follow you on social media? Or I'm obviously going to put all of the links to Brittany's socials below this video, wherever you are watching it. But for the people that are doing audio only,
Yeah.
tell them where to follow you, Brittany.
Absolutely. So you are going to get some positive dance. If you want to see positive dance content, you're going to go to TikTok, which is Brittany_D'Angelo. If you want posts about everything, you're going to go to Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is Brittany_D'Angelo, same as TikTok. And then Twitter is just Brittany D'Angelo. No underscore.
Now, why
For
do you
some
hate us?
I didn't mean to. I don't know why. Okay, in my defense, I did not create my Twitter account. My
Mhm.
brother created my Twitter account, so take that up with him.
And
But
is it too
all,
late to get the underscore?
we could try. I don't know. I don't know if you can like change your username. I can definitely try it.
You
I'm not
can.
verified yet. Okay, so I can
You
definitely
should.
try it.
You should do it
So
before
that
you get. I
it's
mean,
the same.
honestly, you better do it the second the show ends. Now that we just said it, but yeah, now that you're not verified, yeah, I never understand when the people make their thing different everywhere. Like, I understand if you can't get the same one everywhere,
Yeah.
then I get it. But yeah, okay. So, like I said, I'm gonna put the links to all of Brittany's socials
Yeah.
under this video. Now, one of my favorite places to watch Brittany is, of course, her TikTok. And congratulations on your 200,000 followers over there. That has to be amazing.
It is so crazy. We just hit 230 before I came on this call
Oh my
with you.
God.
Like
That's
it's my one video has, like, I've never got this many views on TikTok before in my life. My one video has 3.4 million views. It was insane. But no, it's crazy, but thank you. TikTok is just something that I started during COVID, and it's so fun, and I just kept going with it, and then it's turned into this. I don't know.
Now that was my question. What is our what is the next TikTok trend dance to do? I lost a bet and had to do the neon moon challenge, which
Yes.
was very embarrassing. And so I had to do that. But what do you think your next TikTok's gonna be?
Well, I think I'm actually tomorrow, well, because I just posted one today. It was a lot of like footwork stuff. It was super, super fun. But I think the next one I gotta go back to the one that I did that got 3.4 mil. Because that dance was so fun, and it's a classic by MKTO, and it's like, I'ma pick you up in a Cadillac like a gentleman, bringing glamour, da-da-da-da. It's such a fun one. It's super short. But it just is it's like such good vibes. It's such a good,
Yes,
and also I
Brittany.
love MKTO. So like, it's just such a like a good vibe TikTok.
It's my favorite TikTok, and I love it. And I tried to do it, Brittany, and I look like a giant ogre who's 40 years old trying to. I'm like, bring glamour back. Ow! Oh, God, my back. Can't do it. Kick foot. Oh, my leg's metal. Or it doesn't work. There are very many. If you people go and look at my TikTok, I've done a bunch of alone. Nicole and I have done all of the trends together. Some that I have done more than others. But yeah, I've decided I had to throw the towel in on that one. But I can't wait to watch you do it. It is one of my favorite songs to watch people do on TikTok. I love it.
It's also so smooth. Like, it's just like it's a very smooth dance. It's not that hard. And then the footwork part, you can make it as easy or as hard as you want to, depending on how experienced you are, which I like. Like, I like dances where like you can make it harder or easier depending on what you're doing.
All right, I'm going to try and believe you. I'm going to feel like
Got it.
maybe I can
Believe
do
you.
it and make it easier.
I believe in
Gonna,
you, 100. That's the cool part about TikToks. You got to make it your own.
you do. You have to make it your own. We're going to have this conversation again when you're in your 40s, and I'm going to go, Brittany, when I turned 40, you told me that I could do those TikTok dances, and I'd like to know now, do you still feel the same?
I will. I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you so much, Brittany, for taking time out to talk to your fans tonight. We cannot wait to keep up with all things Brittany. Of course, everyone is going to go right now that this show is over. Follow you on your socials. We can't wait to see what is coming up next for you. I hope that you do New York meet and greets, and I hope that all of those things are there any of that happening? Are there any meet and greets or anything in the works that you can talk about yet?
So I can't really say too much, but we've definitely started the conversation about a Buffalo, Niagara Falls area something. It's just with COVID, it's tough. But we've been talking. It's never like nothing set in stone, but the conversation has started in terms of like, can we make this happen? So I'm hoping that in the next couple weeks we can at least make a Buffalo Niagara area region one before the snow comes. So
100%. And let me just tell you, my favorite casino that I have ever been to is the one right there, like the one on the border of Canada and Buffalo. It's like right there when you cross. That is my favorite. So you should talk to that casino about hosting the meet and greet.
I mean, Eric, I'd be down. I mean, we can make some calls.
We need to make some calls. We can host it. We can do. All right, we're gonna figure it out, everyone. For you, we're gonna have so much fun. Like I said, Derek Frazier is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Tiffany is going to be Friday, and I'm not sure when John and I are doing the Survivor show. We know that you guys want the Big Brother postseason interviews first, so that's what we are focusing on. Again, thank you so much, Brittany. We love all of you guys that have come out tonight. We will see you guys all on the next show. Go ahead, Brittany. I'm going to let you have final word.
Oh my God, thank you guys so much for coming and watching. And Eric, you are an absolute blessing to this earth. So just thank you for being you. Just thank you.
Thank you. You don't have to go anywhere, Brittany. They won't hear us, but we can keep talking. Bye, everybody. Bye, friends.